Majra, we often speak about sustainability, not as an aspiration, but as an operating model that translates national ambitions into measurable, real-world outcomes across the private sector, third sector, and the broader ecosystem. We view sustainability not as a standalone initiative, but instead as a strategic driver and operating model of long-term economic and social and environmental value. The UAE has set bold sustainability targets, and the question now is not whether organizations are committed, it is whether those commitments are embedded into systems that endure, scale, and deliver tangible outcomes. Today's conversation addresses that critical shift, moving from sustainability goals and awareness campaigns to operational systems that reduce waste, recover value, and create long-term social and environmental impact. I am pleased to welcome Hachem Mahfouz, founder of RBT Collective, whose work focuses precisely on designing and operating practical sustainability systems, from circular economy initiatives to zero waste events and food recovery models in partnership with public and private sector stakeholders. Hachem, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of our podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Now, I keep saying RBT Collective. Is that right?
Not really. It's very hard to... it's an Arabic word, which is rabat. And rabat means to tie or to connect. Mm-hmm. It was very hard. We tried to say... we even thought of doing a little marketing video. It's not a rabbit. It's not RBT. It's rabat. And then how you say that. But yeah, the idea of rabat and coming together is very powerful. And I think that
and it is a community, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the origin story of RBT Collective.
Yeah, it's a long story, so hopefully I have a minute or two.
All ears.
So it all started with my brother. I think this is the year of family. It's a good time to shout out to my brother in San Francisco. He started Replate, a technology, a company that helped businesses donate surplus safely to communities in need in 2016.
Okay.
Fast forward to Expo 2020, which feels like yesterday. But it's already, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Yes, it has.
Replate was invited to Expo, and he called me and he's like, do you want to save the world? I was doing architecture, thinking about doing something different, and I'm like, why not? Let's do it. UAE is always exciting. So moved here from architecture and did the 6 month and fell in love with giving back, something that we were taught back home, back in our house from my dad and mom, where Replate and food rescue really stems from. And after a couple of years of Replate, we noticed that businesses join movement, community, not just services, right? And we felt the businesses need a white glove solution. They want they need to understand what's happening around them, what comes before food rescue, what comes after, and we felt like providing a little bit more, bringing the community together was the answer.
And in terms of the establishment of RBT Collective, what has been that journey for you here in the UAE?
It's been an exciting journey. Since day one, we've been always close to the community, here, the sustainability community. And I think RBT happened naturally and evolved naturally. A quick example, we worked very closely with Waste Lab. It's very easy to talk to businesses when we say we do food rescue, whatever we cannot rescue, they can compost. So coming together even make it easier for people to understand what we do, which is give us back to awareness and education, which is at the heart of sustainability.
Absolutely. And I think, having been at COP28 and having hosted with the Ministry of Education the biggest platform for education of sustainability and climate change, really set that tone that it really does start with awareness. And maybe on this point, so the community is made up of predominantly who in RBT Collective?
I think many players, but I would say the biggest would be the private sector, which is the engine, I would say, for a lot of our pilots and projects that we've been doing in the last 5 years here in the
Amazing.
UAE.
Could you name maybe one or two of those initiatives that really impacted RBT's mission?
Of course. I would go with some of the ones that's still running for over a couple of years.
Okay.
I would say No Time to Waste with Dubai Holding, where we have our smart fridges across multiple malls, rescuing meals. So far doing close to 50,000 meals. Another project
per
is per year.
Per year, mashallah.
And this is all surplus meals that have been rescued from these restaurants and hypermarkets. Also, our kitchen at Expo City Dubai, which has been running for a few years, been also a long supporting partner for us.
Amazing. And on the point of Expo City, you know that Majra has partnered with them on the Green Innovation District. Tell me a little bit about your integration into that ecosystem.
Yes. So we've been we started with Expo at Expo 2020, and as it turned into a city, we sticked around and we've been doing the food rescue program there
Mashallah.
Since Expo 2020.
Mashallah.
So almost 5 years.
Mashallah.
And in terms of integration now with the Green District, for people who don't know a lot about it, is creating a new community for startups that have a lot of social environmental impact with a lot of partners. And we're already submitted to turn our regular license to a green license, and we're waiting to see how we can become part of this exciting journey.
Inshallah, bidnallah. We talked a little bit just before we got onto the camera about intentions.
Yes.
And His Excellency Abdullah bin Togh, Minister of Economy and Tourism and Chairman of Majra's Board of Trustees, addressed the team of Majra with this notion of intentions. Tell me a little bit about that with your experience with the RBT Collective.
Yes, I think for me, a lot of the impact that we've been focused on and we've achieved is about turning intention into more system and action.
Yeah.
As you know, a lot of the sustainable work comes back to like the charity work. There's a lot of goodwill. Everybody wants to do this. Everybody want to be part of doing good and giving back. But it's an emotion. It's so easy to phase, and turning it into a system or infrastructure that could live beyond that one-off is very important. And I feel we've been focusing a lot on how to do this, and obviously we cannot do it without integrating with the community and with other startups and partners.
So you're really talking about moving from the typical way that CSR used to be viewed as a marketing gimmick and a campaign to really turning it into a systemized approach to doing good in the UAE. And as you know, during the Impact Summit last year, His Excellency Abdullah bin Togh launched the UAE Companies for Good 2031. And the whole concept of that strategy is to support private sector organizations in doing good in a meaningful way here in the UAE that is sustainable.
Right.
What would you say has been the biggest aha moments in some of your consulting work with some of these companies?
I would say one of the biggest moments were understanding that pilots and testing is the easiest way to work with clients.
Yeah.
It doesn't put a lot of pressure, and it allows everybody to see quickly what we're talking about on the ground.
Yeah.
So we don't want to say, pay me X amount of money to do some consulting.
Yeah.
Let's do a pilot.
Hello.
Let's get the data from your backyard quickly and understand if our service fits you.
Nice.
Or what you're talking about even matters, right?
Yeah.
And we felt this, most of our project, I would say 90%, project that have been running for 3 years, started as a pilot or at a small campaign or small event. And that's why we feel events is the easiest entry point to connect with the client and understand that.
And subhanallah, when you look around the UAE and in cities like Dubai, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, Ajman, Ras Al Khaimah now, Fujairah, there are a lot of events that happen all around us. And just to talk about our engagement with you during the Impact Summit, you supported us a lot in ensuring that we had a sustainable food and beverage service as part of the Impact Summit. I guess my question here is, how might you encourage private sector organizations, if not even government entities, to really make their events more sustainable?
Yes. So first, thank you for allowing us to
Our
showcase
pleasure.
how we can make events more and engagement more sustainable.
Yeah.
Us and our partners and other companies. I would say for businesses, in nature, events usually have a lot of waste, happen so fast. But the good news is it has a lot of visibility.
Yes.
And it has a lot of sponsorship and a lot of support and a lot of entities that are part of making it and being part of it. And we feel that's much easier to try to test and show how can we rescue food, how can we compost what was not rescued, how can we do reusable and avoid a lot of the single-use plastic, and much more. the cloth of the table could be more sustainable. The wood and podium could be recycled. So how can, right? This is like a whole living organism, right? That 100%. We can slowly, and that's by bringing other player and making sure it's all under a clear infrastructure and ownership.
So I guess the question I'd like to ask is, what's your business model? If you are really a connector of different services and functions within the ecosystem, how does RBT sustain itself, or RBT, sustain itself?
So obviously RBT started from the food rescue, and still I would say is our bread and butter.
Okay.
So whenever food rescue is required, we have our service on the ground.
Nice.
And with the right partnership. And when I talk partnership, I'm not saying I connect you to another job. I'm saying I understand your business model. Today, I can represent some of the startup that work with us
100%.
And do a lot of the heavy or let's say busy work at the beginning to verify that there's a project happening. And that brings a lot of value. So embedding, you become almost like a fractional entity or a fractional person that helps you at least to validate quickly and see if there's a potential to collaborate.
Absolutely.
And everybody likes to collaborate, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And clients love more visibility and more startup, right?
Of
to
course.
Be part of this. So it's win-win for everybody.
MashaAllah. You talk and I think about this sentence that I've been saying a lot in many of my discussions, whether it's in, government-to-government meetings or meetings with private companies or even social entrepreneurs, that Majra is really a broker for good. We don't see ourselves as anything but a dish that serves up all the possibilities that an organization can do good in the UAE, whether you're a private sector company, a government, a philanthropy organization, social entrepreneurs, even academia. And so for me, the question that I'd like to ask around value, what value did Majra bring to RBT Collective once you joined our ecosystem?
I think multiple, but I would like to talk about one that I think is very tangible. Because I think the idea of RBT came a little bit from seeing Majra bringing everybody together. I think there was I think sustainability happens at multiple levels, they're scattered, but I felt Majra, and I think with the name itself, right?
Yes, channeling.
The path and the channeling is now we know where everybody is, and I felt like now that that's clear, then maybe it's time to let them talk a little bit more on the ground. I think a lot of people, from a consulting, you can bring different businesses, but to have them speak on the ground, right, and understand how to close a deal or how to break it down to a client, there's a lot of work on that end, and that's where we're trying to work there. So I think one is creating the ecosystem. I think Majra did that and did it very systematically and slowly, and we love that. We've been with conversations. I think the story goes back with Majra. And I think the second is credibility. And I feel in our work, there's two layers. One is people want to make sure that what you're doing is verified, is credible, is supported by the right entity.
Correct.
And I think Majra have a mix of entities that brings that to the table. So I would say these are the main ones.
One of the things that when I first joined Majra, we really looked at the different services that we offer, whether it's awareness and guidance for private sector companies to do good. So we looked at our guidelines, we looked at our standards, we looked at our playbooks, and there's a lot of work that we're doing for that this year. And we did quite a bit last year. Then we looked at how do we ensure that there's an ecosystem of verified, credible initiatives that anybody could work with easily, with ease of mind. So that was our verification stamp. That was our impact seal for the companies. And we knew that the impact seal needed work, so we introduced an impact seal for SMEs, because you can't compare large corporates' work to SMEs that some of them are even social entrepreneurs. And so the continuous evolution of this ecosystem, I think, could have only happened by listening to you. And of course, one of the most amazing things that I love about what we've established is impact labs. These are workshops where we bring stakeholders from all walks of life, whether they're government, private sector, academia, social entrepreneurs, philanthropy, to really talk about hot topics, whether it's, what policies do we need to ensure that doing good is sustainable in the UAE? What priorities are there in the UAE, like education, health, environment? What areas within health do you want the private sector to really engage and develop solutions for that are sustainable? And so the conversations are endless, and the potential for impact is exponential. And the impact economy cannot happen unless we have a government that is directing, a private sector that is leading and funding and supporting in the sort of movement. And then we have the social entrepreneurs like yourself and third sector organizations that are implementing on the ground. And then academia comes in and does a full study and says what's working and what's not.
Right.
So for me, and within Majra, we are very keen to engage with social entrepreneurs like yourself. Which maybe leads me to the next question. You participated in the Sustainable Impact Challenge, صح?
Yes, correct.
Tell me a little bit about that experience with us.
It was a great experience in the sense that it was great to see other projects that joined, and I think it was great to see the ecosystem and how they're integrated. Also, I think it allowed us to push ourselves. To put our thoughts and our business model and our ideas very clearly on a stage, right? Which is very exciting, and we always need that because we get busy saving the world.
Oh, yes.
So like, okay, but this needs
what
to
a
be...
mission, huh? Your brother, when he said, do you want to save the world? Incredible, mashallah.
He fooled me, right?
لا أبداً بالعكس. I'm very proud of the fact that you took that mission to heart and you're really making it into reality.
Yes, it's not an easy path. You always question what you could have done. What's the alternative cost for not doing this? It's like anything new; it takes time. But yeah, I would say it was a great experience to focus on what matters. Because whenever there's an opportunity, you wanna align for that. But then you understand where is your focus and all that. But it was a great experience and. All in all.
Would you repeat it? You know it's open now.
Yes, and I think a part of us evolving is exciting that this is happening every year because we feel every year the market is changing internationally and locally and nationally, right? And big part I would say to have an agile and flexible business model and mindset is very important in sustainability.
Yeah, flexibility is not easy in a sometimes heavily regulated sphere.
Yes.
When you think about all the agreements that nations around the world have agreed to in COPs, some of the regulations that are coming out around CO2 emissions for private sector companies, do we follow GRI, do we follow... Maybe talk to me a little bit about this. With RBT Collective, how do you report your impact? What are some of the metrics that you use?
Yes, so obviously we focus a lot on food rescue and plastic reduction. And big part of the impact metrics that we measure is the number of meals and the weight of it when we do the food recovery. We do a lot of the environmental part of it, which is the CO2 emission, methane gas, and a lot of the water saved by rescuing these food. And now we're getting a little bit more into the reduction of single-use plastics in the reusable market, right? Especially with all the latest policy that's been implemented across the UAE. So these are one of the major ones that we do. And I think till date, we've rescued over 500,000 meal.
MashaAllah.
Over multiple projects and Expo 2020. And we're... building more than we have over 15 MOUs in partnership with different levels of the community. And we've done a few awards with multiple. So we're excited to do more of this.
Well, speaking of doing more, what's the future for RBT Collective? Where are you going with this?
Where I'm going with this? I feel I'd like to share the idea of how can we shift back to the intention. We're talking, it's very emotional, it's very campaigns, it's a lot of marketing, and how can we shift that into systems and infrastructure? And how can we get funding in an easy way? A lot of time when we talk to client, we talk about what's your marketing budget? Because that's something they speak.
Yes.
So can we use 5% to try a sustainability project?
Yeah.
Like that language, and how can we translate it and scale it, right?
Yes.
And how can even the idea of little bit, I don't want to say monetizing, but the impact, somebody owns that. If that could be a drive for people to engage more. So how can we bring that in? But I would say more collaboration, look into other market outside of UAE, because we have built here a lot of case studies. We understand the market, maybe bring some of these insight back here to further develop these projects and connect more with the community, because we felt like This is the most important part.
I would be very encouraging for you to maybe give a message to other social entrepreneurs that exist in the UAE. Just give them a piece of advice that has a little bit of a call to action. So if you're a social entrepreneur, Emirati or not, you're in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, any Emirate, what would you give them as advice?
I think I have many advices, but I would say celebrate small wins. I think we get caught up and emotional in trying to make things work, to make sense of things that we're doing, to explain it to people, to businesses, to community. So celebrating these small wins so you don't give up, I think, and celebrate it with other in the community. I think that like to the other startup or that shout out or that mention, it's this small, but it means a lot for us. It's not always about money because we're not in this for the money. So I think celebrate small wins.
Speaking of systems, what does a real world sustainability system look like in practice to you?
So I would say I always like to talk about 4 things, and I call it MISO, and I think it starts with measurement. So I feel in any system it gets complicated, we need to measure, and we cannot change what we cannot measure.
Yes.
And then incentives. I think we always talk about the carrots and sticks, and I think it's always good to start with the carrots.
100%. I agree.
So the incentives are important. And again, it doesn't have to happen to be monetary. It just to happen to be clear. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And then I think in terms of structure, infrastructure, like if you don't have a proper infrastructure for that system or that sustainability system, then it's very hard to evolve and stay around. And finally, the ownership. That's the MISO. So I think ownership. It's very important to understand who's behind this. We always talk about like the RASI metrics of who's responsible in this project or this system, who's accountable, who's communicated to, and who's consulted or informed, correct? So these are very important. And once we are able to embed these, and it will make really the system thrive, and I would call that a successful system.
You're lucky. I love Japanese culture and food, so miso soup is my absolute favorite soup, and I will never forget that.
I'm getting hungry right It's good.
Let's not waste food, shall we, Hachem?
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Thank you so much for being part of today's discussions. Really, you have inspired me. You have really been an integral part of Majra's ecosystem. You have supported Majra in being a lot more sustainable with its events. And who knows where the future could take us together. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the end of our episode with Mr. Hachem Mahfouz from RBT Collective, and we're so happy that you joined us today. Looking forward to seeing you again in our next episode on The Impact Stream. حياكم الله.